Hi, Papa Yeager here with This Day in History. January 29th, 1845. Edgar Allan Poe's poem, The Raven, is published in the New York Evening Mirror. The Raven is probably Poe's most famous poem. It is one of the most well-known poems probably written in the English language. Edgar Allan Poe was a brilliant writer. He wrote poetry, he wrote short stories. He was known for writing dark tales that had like a psychological twist to them. His characters were often mentally on the decline. There was a sense of paranoia, such as in A Telltale Heart. He struggled through much of his life with a drinking problem. He was a brilliant writer. He worked on several literary magazines, but he had trouble holding down jobs and positions because he kept getting fired because of his drinking. It's also interesting to note that he self-published poetry before he was known, before anybody else published him. I like pointing that out because so often we get caught up in the fact that if you self-publish, you're not good. Edgar Allan Poe did publish his poems initially, self-published his first set of poetry. My son really likes Edgar Allan Poe, enjoys his stories, enjoys the darkness of them. He wrote a story once himself that was based on one of Edgar Allan Poe's stories, and I thought it was really well done, especially since my son did it. He was only 11. Part of my son's interest, I think, in Edgar Allan Poe is when I was homeschooling him during the COVID pandemic. I really tried to tap into things that he was interested in, not just what I thought should be read. And because I knew that he had a beginning interest in Edgar Allan Poe, I cultivated it. We read a few of Edgar Allan Poe's short stories. And then there was that incident during COVID in the Rose Garden where Trump just had to have people together, and all of a sudden everybody started getting sick. And then there was a comment on social media about how it was very similar to Edgar Allan Poe's Masque of the Red Death. At the time, I incorporated that into my lessons. I had my son read newspaper articles about the politicians and people getting sick in the Rose Garden. And then I had him read Masque of the Red Death and draw a comparison. My son enjoyed Masque of the Red Death so much that the following year for Halloween, he insisted on being Red Death. It drove my spouse crazy because she does all of his costumes. But it was probably his most stunning costume. He looked really good as Red Death. Anyway, that's This Day in History, January 29th, 1845. Edgar Allan Poe published The Raven. Oh, for those of you who are football fans, I always bring this up in class talking about football and literature. The Baltimore Ravens, the fact that Baltimore team is named the Ravens is a nod to Edgar Allan Poe. He lived in that city. He died in that city. So the Ravens, the Baltimore team is the Ravens because of Edgar Allan Poe, because of the poem that was published today.